Hi everyone, and welcome back to the next diecast. For today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale Ford Explorer Sport Trac pickup made by Maisto. So my brother actually got this particular model from an antique store for, I believe, less than $10. He gave it to me in recent years. Maisto is no longer making this particular model, but when they were making it, it came in this cool kind of dark metallic blue you see here. And also a metallic orange, a white. There's also a rare black version too. And they all had this gray interior, which I believe was a real option on the real truck. This is a 2001 to 2002 model because it does say Explorer on the door. I think after 2002 they removed that badge. And they made some minor changes to the truck too. The first generation was made from 2000 until 2005. And the second gen was from 2006 until 2010. But this is a good model from Maisto, I would say, overall for the most part. But there are some quality issues in terms of like build quality and everything that I'll get to as I go along with the review here. So we'll go ahead and start up here with the front of the model. Decent job with the headlights, aside from you see a peg down there and a peg up there. And they are pretty noticeable, especially up close like this. But I mean, they do a good job with the overall shape and everything. And there is kind of a gap between this lens and the metalwork, but it's not too noticeable, I guess, unless you look right at it like I am now. There are actually separate fog lights, and there's actually separate tow hooks on the bumper here too. Kind of reminds me of my Hummer H2 SUT that I have. That also has the tow hooks built into the bumper. But yeah, the separate fog lights look good. There's no pegs in them, unlike the Chevy Colorado that I did a review on. They look more like actual bulbs and, you know, just kind of plastic pieces with giant pegs in them. The center grille here looks good overall. This is actually metal going across and on either side here. The mesh looks decent. It's not perforated, but at least it has kind of a texture to it. The paint quality overall, I would say, is good. There is some orange peel, however, in some areas, like on this door here and everything. This model, I'm not sure when exactly it was made because we never got the box with it, but probably in the early 2000s sometime. Maisto was kind of making the transition from spotty paint quality to very good paint quality. And this is kind of a mix of both. Like the metallic blue looks awesome, and this, you know, this panel or this hood's very smooth, and so is the roof. But there's just some orange peel on the doors and everything. Maisto made this model, I think, for maybe 15 years or so. So I'm sure newer versions have less paint issues than the older versions because they make improvements as time goes on. We'll take a look next at the side of the model here. They do a good job with these running boards. They're actually separate plastic pieces, and they have a texture to them. They're very sturdy. They're not going to fall off or anything. You have the Explorer inscription done in silver. It's the right proportion and size and what have you. The mirrors are actually very sturdy too. They're done in kind of like a black, like vinyl plastic. And they do a nice job with the wipers up here too. The rearview mirror actually was missing from this model when my brother got it. A little bit of a loose windshield too. You can always just pop that out and put some glue on it. Separate roof racks up here. And unlike the Colorado, there's actually a separate tail light. The Colorado, it was just painted on kind of like a metallic paint, but on this one, it's actually a separate piece. So that's pretty cool to see. Wheels and tires look great overall. They have Dunlop tires on them. I think newer versions of this model will not have the branded tires because around 2007, 2008, Maisto stopped including branded tires on their models, unfortunately. And you do get full steering. Very kind of good and wide steering too, and suspension. And the suspension isn't, you know, noisy and kind of cushy. It's actually pretty smooth too. Well, up here it's a bit cushy, but that's not a big deal. Nice texture along back here. I'm not really sure. Kind of like carbon fiber. It's definitely not carbon fiber, but it kind of has a nice like rough texture to it. And you get the separate plastic bumper back here with the Explorer Sport Trac license plate. Nice job on the taillights. I mean, aside from these two pegs, they're pretty obvious, but they're the right shape and everything. So at least they have that going for it. Cheap looking exhaust pipe, but a lot of Maistos have that, you know, issue anyway, so it's not a big deal. You get the Ford badge back here and the Explorer Sport Trac badge as well. You can really see the metallic finish back here. Very, very cool. In terms of opening features, we'll start back here. You actually have an opening lift gate with a bed extender. That's a really cool touch, I think. It doesn't go all the way down, but at least they have that feature that the real truck had. The chrome will kind of fade a bit on here, so just don't touch it too much. It does move up and down, as you see here. But I think that's a cool feature, and you can put the model like on your shelf like this. Just a very cool. There's some nice texturing on the bed in here too. I'd say it's better texture than the Chevy Colorado that Maisto made. I know in the Colorado it was red to match the body. I don't know if that was actually proper or not, but in here it is kind of a black pattern or a black coloring and like a nice texture. So I think this is proper to the real truck. So we'll close that up and we'll move on next to the hood, or to the engine, I should say. Opens up like so. One of Maisto's better engines, I would say, for sure. There's several kind of plastic component, like three-dimensional components in here, and you get the warning labels in the very front there. You can see all the hoses and pulleys and everything. You actually can see all the way down to the bottom of the truck. It's just kind of hard to see with this camera, but if you shine a light down there, you'll be able to see it for sure. Underneath the hood, there is some slight underspray, but at least there is kind of a texture, so they did do a good job with that in that sense. This model actually does feature all 4 opening doors, but the doors are not the best quality. They open on spring-loaded hinges, so just like the Colorado, very kind of loose. You have to just gently open them, and like look at that. It looks like it's going to fall off or something. The back doors are even worse. Like if you just touch it, it just kind of falls open like that. My brother and I actually both put tape in here to kind of keep the doors shut. But I mean, the feature is cool, but the quality is not really the best, I would say. Only the driver door opens up like properly and, you know, tight. The rest of these doors are just very loose when you open them. Actually, no, this back door is decent when you open it. But I mean, at least it has the opening doors. I just wish they opened wider, and 2, you know, they weren't so darn loose. I mean, I feel like it's just going to fall off at some point. So I never open these doors for that reason. So just be careful, you know, if you get this model and, you know, you have door issues with it, don't open them too much, because then they might, you know, fall off at some point. The detail on the door panels, though, is pretty good. There's a nice kind of rough texture on the bottom where like the speakers would be. And you have kind of the molded in buttons, just a little bit. It's not really too noticeable per se. And there is a nice texture on them as well. Detailing on the dashboard and center stack is actually pretty good. All the buttons are actually painted on. Although I've seen versions of this that don't have painted on buttons, this one does, so it does look more detailed in that sense. You have a nice kind of leather pattern on the dashboard too. And you see the nice molding for the glove box door and the vents on there too. They do a nice job on the seats too. They actually look and feel like the real like leather, I guess, that the seats would be made of, or maybe they're vinyl, I'm not too sure. They do move a slight bit, and you also have good detailing with the back seat back here too. They even include the seat belts, which is a pretty cool touch. You can see the seat belts with the front seats too. They're kind of hard to see. They're kind of tucked away, but they are there. And you get the seat like adjustments and memory controls down there too. Well, I think they're manual seats, so they wouldn't have the buttons, but they do have like the knob things that you turn to actually adjust the seat back and everything. They do a nice job with the steering wheel. Hard to see from here, but there's a little bit of a texture above the Ford badge. I think there's a horn logo on there too. And it does turn very nicely with the wheels, unlike the Colorado where it only turns a little bit, but at least the Colorado, the doors are a bit better, I would say. You do get some pedals down there. They match the flooring and like the gray interior. But at least they have them on there as like separate pieces and everything. And you actually do get a headliner on this model. It's hard to see, but yeah, there it is up there. You can see like just the plastic lining. Maisto usually does not include that on their models, but on here they did. So I thought that was a pretty cool kind of surprise detail there. And there is actually a vent on the console back here for the rear passengers. So that's a cool touch. See the orange peel on the door on there. It's not really that great to look at, but it's probably just a factory defect, I would say. Looks good with the doors open. So to close the doors, just very slow and very gently. This one kind of gives a little bit of a delay when you try to close it. These are more fun, I say in quotes, like sarcastically, to close. Look at how loose that one is. And it just falls open. If you tilt the truck, it just falls open. So just be mindful of that when you're getting this model. You may have some door problems. Like I even hear it like just so loose, it's not really that great. This one, you have to literally like lift it and shake it kind of back into place too to get it to close. So that's not really a good thing. And just like the Colorado, there is actually some paint peel, just a little bit from these doors being opened. So for that reason, we open them as little as possible, or else the paint might start to come off. But like I said for the Colorado video, if you have, you know, the right, I guess, color of paint, you could do some very minor touching up if you were to get this model used like we did, just to, you know, fix it up a little bit, make it look a little bit better. But quality issues aside, like the overall detailing and everything on this model is good. And the fact that it has 4 opening doors, I think that's a really good thing. Maisto doesn't always include that on, you know, their SUVs and trucks and everything. Undercarriage, we'll take a look at that next. You do actually get a full-size spare tire with a Dunlop on it. And that is an actual rubber tire too. It's not just like a plastic, you know, molded piece into the bottom. It's actually a separate piece. You could actually pull this out, I'm pretty sure. I haven't tried it out yet, but you get some decent detailing down here. You can see the differential and the exhaust and everything. And some of the engine detail too is actually visible down there. So that's a cool touch, I would say. This model does not turn up too often, and when it does, it goes for some pretty expensive prices, especially when it's new in box. So your best bet is to get maybe a gently used or like a played with version. It won't be maybe the best quality, but you'll be saving some money, I would say. So if you're able to find this model for a good price, I would say definitely get it. It looks good with, you know, any other pickup trucks or anything. It is a slight bit under scale, I think. I forgot to mention that. But aside from that, you know, it looks good in any collection, I would say, for sure. Hope this review and video was helpful, and as always, feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on this model, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.